Hey guys, last week we've seen a bit of a real estate pause. In the next few minutes I'll show you exactly what that means for you and how it relates to the 3 rules of predicting real estate markets. Plus, we'll talk about the new foreign buyers tax coming up right next. Hey guys, welcome back to this week's weekly market update for the week of July 25th, 2016. My name is Ben Kay, the condo agent, and today we'll be talking about the 3 rules of predicting real estate markets, which we as professionals use when we predict the real estate market. So what are those 3 rules? Number 1, supply and demand. Number 2, cause and effect. And of course, number 3, history repeats itself. So as we go through these numbers here over the last week, I'll show you exactly how we use those 3 rules to predict the market. So let's jump right into it. Now, if you recall, about this time last week, I showed you guys a bar graph showing the activity of real estate in the Vancouver condo market over the last 12 months. And while we don't have the numbers quite yet for July as a month entirely, we do have the numbers between July 1st and July 25th. And what we'll see here is that in the last 25 days or so, we've had 513 listings come on the market for the Vancouver West Side and 322 listings sell. Now, the difference between how much comes on market and how much sells, we call that an absorption rate. And so as you can see across the regions that I'm displaying here, which is the Vancouver West Side, East Side, and Burnaby, is that in all 3 regions, the absorption rates are quite strong. As a reminder, anything between 14 and 19%, that's considered a balanced market. So anything above that, and as we see here at 62% and up, that is well within a seller's market. So rule number 1, supply and demand, we can see that the seller market continues in Vancouver. Now, if we look across the region, not just at these 3 areas, but across the entire Lower Mainland, and those blue areas, that's showing you where absorption rates have actually dropped in comparison to the end of June. And what that's telling us is, and that's leading on to the next rule here, cause and effect. Cause is that inventory is sitting on the market a tiny bit longer and demand has decreased slightly. So keep in mind, we're still in a very strong seller's market. Many properties are still getting multiple offers and many properties are going at or above asking. However, activity has slowed down slightly. So the cause here is that absorption rates have decreased slightly, and that's affecting, what we see on the next map here, a pause in the market. And why do we call this a pause in the market? Well, price points, in fact, are continuing to increase, if not staying stable. So those areas in red, that's where prices have continued to increase, versus those areas in blue, which is just one area, is where prices have decreased very, very slightly. Now, if we saw prices dropping, then that might be a bit of a reason for concern. However, because prices are sustained at current supply and demand levels, and they're in fact still increasing, we call this a pause. So the cause is that we had a shift in supply and demand. The effect is that we have a pause in the market. And on to rule number 3 of predicting real estate markets, which is history repeats itself. Now, if you look at these numbers, they do compare very strongly to numbers that we had at the end of February 2016, which, as some of you may note, was 1 month right before the peak of the market, which was March 2016. So if activity and trends hold true, we should see a spike in activity happening late August, early September, which does coincide with Vancouver's seasonal market. Additionally, around this time of year, especially followed by preceded by such a strong spring market, we do see buyer fatigue, and so that does lead to a change in activity levels. Now, before we wrap up this video right here, I just want to quickly touch on the bill that the provincial government rather, brought into action today in Victoria. Number 1, what it allows is for the local Vancouver city government to implement a vacant home tax, and we'll see how that has an effect on the market in terms of purchasing, and hopefully as well as the rental market, hopefully freeing up some inventory for renters. And we'll see how that transpires, and we'll probably chat about that in a couple of videos from now as that starts being implemented and developed. But more immediately, the government has brought in a 15% property transfer tax effective as of August 2nd, which is just coming up next week, to be placed on the purchase of residential property by anyone who's not a permanent resident of Canada or a Canadian citizen. in. And the intention of that, of course, is to discourage the purchase of residential property by foreigners and freeing up that inventory for locals. So we'll see how that has an effect on the Vancouver real estate market. I should mention that is for the Metro Vancouver region, so not just Vancouver, but the Lower Mainland entirely. But personally, I do think this will be a positive and will only have positive effects, especially for, of course, locals who want to purchase in the communities in which they work and hopefully can purchase and live in as well. Now, if you have any questions about the inventory that we discussed in this video today, or if you've been thinking about buying or selling, I'd love to offer my support in any way that I can. So do feel free to call or text me at the number below anytime. You can also, of course, leave comments right below. Shares and likes are much appreciated. And you can direct message me on Facebook as well. So I'll leave you guys to it. Until this time next week, have a wonderful week ahead, and we'll chat soon. Bye-bye.